Officer Henry and Lytuky, after days of intense investigation, captured a trusted henchman of the kingpin, revealing a deadly plot to kill them and cover up the truth. Facing grave danger, they are determined to expose the entire criminal network and protect themselves. The battle between justice and darkness begins, filled with suspense and peril. If you love thrilling and gripping detective stories, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the upcoming episodes. After more than a week of tracing faint clues left at the crime scenes, Officer Henry and Lytuky finally tracked down one of the kingpin's most trusted henchmen, a cunning, elusive, and extremely dangerous man. This suspect had only briefly appeared in security camera footage, his face almost entirely hidden. Thanks to Henry's advanced facial recognition software and years of experience, they uncovered his true identity, Lyvan Doan, nicknamed Blind Doan, a professional assassin known for silencing many witnesses in high-profile cases. The arrest was far from simple. Doan lived in an abandoned house deep in a desolate suburb, disguised as a rundown auto repair shop. He had his own alarm system, even kept a fierce guard dog, and always carried a gun on him. A single careless move could have ruined the entire operation or caused serious casualties. Henry and Lytuky had to act with extreme caution. They silently observed for 3 consecutive nights, learning every habit and schedule of the criminal. Every step was carefully calculated. Lytuky, with her sharp instincts and decisiveness, discovered that at exactly 2 a.m. each night, Doan would step outside to check his rat traps and smoke a cigarette. That was the only time he left the camera-monitored and weapon-guarded room. The plan was set into motion on the 4th night. Under thick fog, Henry and Lytuky quietly approached from behind the house, slipping past rusty wire fences without making a sound. Lytuky used specialized equipment to cut the power in the area, while Henry used a silencer to put the guard dog to sleep. Just as Doan stepped out and hadn't yet taken a drag of his cigarette, the shadow struck like lightning. In an instant, he was completely subdued. His fierce face twisted in panic. He never suspected he'd been under surveillance all this time, never expected his perfect escape plan to collapse because of a moment's carelessness. Bound and restrained, Doan struggled, but Lytuky's cold gaze and Henry's gun silenced him. There was no need for many words, their eyes said it all. This was no ordinary interrogation. This was justice speaking. As the handcuffs snapped tightly around Doan's wrists, Henry and Lytuky both knew they had just touched the door leading to the truth. Doan was not the final target, but he was the key. And behind him, the shadow of the kingpin was slowly emerging from the dense night fog. The interrogation room was cold and dimly lit, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in the minds of Officer Henry and Lytuken. Across from them sat Lyvan Doan, Blind Doan, his eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights, face bruised and beaten but still defiantly silent. For hours, the tension thickened, every question met with cold resistance, every silence filled with unspoken threats. Yet Henry and Lytuky knew they were close. The answers they sought were trapped inside Doan's mind, locked behind years of loyalty and fear. The silence finally shattered when Henry leaned in, voice low but firm. "Don't, we're not here to play games. We know you're part of a bigger operation. Tell us, what's the kingpin's next move?" At first, Don scoffed, eyes flashing with contempt. "You think I'm stupid? I'd never give you what you want." But hours turned into a long night. Slowly, cracks began to show. Lytukai's persistence and Henry's steady pressure wore him down. Finally, the hard shell of the assassin broke. "The boss, he wants you dead," Don spat bitterly. "Both of you. He says you know too much, that you're a threat. And threats get eliminated." Henry's heart tightened. This wasn't just a warning, it was a death sentence. The kingpin wasn't playing around, he was willing to cross every line to protect his empire. Don detailed chilling orders handed down from the top, the kingpin's voice cold and merciless, demanding the assassination of Henry and Lytuky to silence them permanently. Lytukai's eyes narrowed. "Why? What exactly do we know that's so dangerous?" Don hesitated, then confessed what few dared to say aloud. "The boss, he's built a network far bigger than anyone suspects. Drugs, weapons, money laundering, everything runs through him. But worse, he's got connections inside the police, deep inside. You two getting close threatens to unravel everything." The room seemed to close in on Henry and Lytuky. The corruption, the betrayal, they were facing more than just a criminal gang. They were up against a shadowy web woven so tightly it could swallow them whole. Suddenly, Don's face twisted in a grim smile. "You should have stopped at the henchman. You're poking a hornet's nest now." Henry slammed his fist on the table. "We don't scare that easily. We're going to bring him down, no matter what." Don's laughter was hollow but chilling. "Good luck. The boss doesn't lose. And now, your targets." As the first light of dawn crept through the window, Henry and Lytuky sat in silence, the weight of the confession pressing down on them. They knew they had to act fast. Their enemy was ruthless, resourceful, and prepared to kill without hesitation. "We're not just chasing criminals anymore," Lytuky said quietly, breaking the silence. "We're fighting for our lives." Henry nodded, determination hardening his gaze. "Then we hit back. Hard. Before they come for us." Outside, the city stirred to life, oblivious to the deadly game unfolding in a small interrogation room. The stakes had never been higher, and the path ahead was more dangerous than ever. But Henry and Lytuky had made a silent promise to see justice served, no matter the cost. And with the truth finally out, there was no turning back. The chilling revelation from Don hit Henry and Lytuky like a thunderclap. The kingpin wasn't just a criminal mastermind hiding in the shadows, he was a ruthless puppeteer ready to sacrifice anyone to protect his empire, including them. Their survival now depended on one thing: acting before the hunter became the hunted. Back in the precinct, the atmosphere was tense. Every glance, every footstep echoed like a ticking clock counting down to an inevitable confrontation. Henry and Lytuky were no longer just officers on a case, they were targets, walking a tightrope over a pit of vipers. Each decision carried the weight of life and death. Henry sat at his desk, the harsh glow of the computer screen casting shadows on his tired face. He reviewed the evidence again, piecing together the kingpin's network, the intricate web of corruption and violence spanning the city. It was more extensive than he'd ever imagined. The kingpin had insiders everywhere, police officers, politicians, businessmen turning a blind eye or actively aiding his operations. Lytuky stood by the window, her arms crossed, eyes scanning the darkened streets below. "They'll come for us soon," she said softly, voice steady but laced with steel. "The moment they realize we know the truth, we'll be next on their hit list." Henry looked up, determination burning in his eyes. "We can't wait for them to make the first move. If we do, it'll be the end of us." A plan began to form, a desperate, high-risk strategy to expose the kingpin before he could silence them. But to do it, they needed allies they could trust. They needed to outsmart a shadow that had spread its tendrils deep into the city's underbelly. First, they reached out to an old friend, a seasoned detective named Marcus, known for his incorruptible integrity. Marcus had helped Henry once before, back when corruption seemed unstoppable. If anyone could stand against the tide, it was him. Marcus arrived quickly, his face grim. "I heard about Dawn," he said, sliding into the seat across from them. "This goes deeper than we thought. We're dealing with a criminal kingpin who's got the entire system in his pocket." Lytuky nodded. "They've already put a price on our heads. We don't have time to waste." Together, the three began to strategize. They would gather hard evidence, financial records, secret communications, and hidden transactions that could bring the kingpin and his network crashing down. But first, they had to secure their safety. Security measures were doubled. Surveillance cameras were installed around their homes and precinct. Bodyguards were assigned, but Henry and Lytuky knew better than to rely solely on protection. They had to be one step ahead. As days passed, the pressure mounted. Anonymous threats appeared on their phones. Shadowy figures lurked at a distance. Every sound in the night made their hearts race. One evening, as Henry returned home, a black car slowed beside him. The window rolled down just enough to reveal a folded note tossed his way. Without hesitation, Henry grabbed it and stepped away. The message was clear: stop digging or die. But Henry's resolve only hardened. "They think fear will stop us," he told Lytuky later, voice fierce. "They don't know who they're dealing with." Lytuky smiled grimly. "Then let's show them." The clock was ticking. The kingpin's forces were closing in, but Henry, Lytuky, and Marcus were ready to strike. They coordinated a daring raid, backed by trustworthy officers and digital evidence that would leave no room for doubt. The operation was a high-stakes gamble. Every second was a gamble, every move calculated. They stormed the kingpin's hidden lair under the cover of darkness, overwhelming his guards and seizing crucial documents. The kingpin himself was nowhere to be found, but his empire was crumbling. News of the raid sent shockwaves through the city. The corruption exposed was staggering, the kingpin's grip finally loosening. Yet Henry and Lytuky knew this was only the beginning. The fight for justice was far from over. The kingpin's men would retaliate, desperate and dangerous. But now, armed with truth and backed by unwavering courage, Henry and Lytuky stood ready. They had survived the night, and they would face whatever came next together.